The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Wrestling to the Max Smackdown Review.
Hello and welcome to the Wrestling to the Max Smackdown Live Review for January 31st, 2017. The last day of January is upon us, and we are now going to be heading into February the next time we do some kind of show. Of course, I'm your host, Sean Garmer. With me here, Mr. Paul Leazar.
Heyo.
If Gary can get a handle on figuring out the number situation here, he'll probably be joining us too, and of course, here with us for the first time in a while, Mr. Chris Lemchi, the fourth co-host. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I was gonna do a little joke. I was gonna say the five-time WrestleMania attendee, sucker.
I'm only going to accept that if you do the spin and Rooney, though.
That you have to pay to see for $9.99 on the W2M network.
That's right. That's right. Thankfully, you don't have to pay any kind of money to subscribe to the W2M network. Thank you, Chris, for that wonderful segue. So, you can subscribe and get all of our wonderful podcasts. Of course, you can also just subscribe to the Wrestling to the Max and get everything we do here. You get your Raw review, your SmackDown, your 205 Live that we'll do right after this, your NXT, and also the 2 episodes that we do a week, plus, your pay-per-view reviews, New Japan stuff, all that in there in one great little subscription that you get. So, of course, you can always visit the website, w2net.com, where you get all that stuff, wrestling stuff, game stuff. It's all there for you. So, you go check those things out. But we are here to discuss the SmackDown Live that just happened, and Gary finally figured out the phone thing, so we're all here and we can get going. So we started out with Mr. John Cena, of course, now 16-time world champion John Cena, and he, is all about. He said he has to apologize to AJ Styles for calling him an elite star, and pretty much doing that whole thing he always does where, now I feel like I have to bring up the guy that I beat after I tore him down before the match. That's fine. Bray and Randy Orton interrupt the show, and this is when we start to I think we might have found out before this started or during this, or but whoever's going to be in the Elimination Chamber, which is Baron Corbin, The Miz, Dean Ambrose, AJ Styles, John Cena, and Bray Wyatt. Of course, makes total sense that Randy Orton's not there because he already has his ticket to WrestleMania stamped after winning the Rumble. Pretty much all this stuff happens. Luke Harper comes out eventually to save John Cena from getting beat up by Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt. And Shane McMahon makes a tag match that happens right after this. Randy Orton winds up hitting the RKO on John Cena to win for his team. I thought it was a pretty good match. And we also find out later that next week, the match that everybody loves, John Cena and Randy Orton, is going to main event SmackDown. Hell, it can main event WrestleMania again. I swear I feel like Chris said this. There's going to be some WrestleMania main evented by John Cena and Randy Orton again.
Yeah, we got pretty much close to it, which is what I like. I was actually joking with one of my friends on Facebook. I was like 2 days before the Rumble. I was like, "This is what's going to happen. Orton wins the Rumble, Cena wins the belt, and we finally get Orton and Cena at WrestleMania once in a lifetime."
For the 50th time.
Yeah. Hey, the fact that SmackDown started out with Cena and Orton segment, sort of, it's hilarious. Happy days are here again.
Paul,
I
how do you
mean,
feel about
say
all
what you
this?
will, but I don't think either man has really been as interesting as they have been in the last couple of weeks, and they have been maybe ever, but certainly in the last couple of years. So I honestly, if this does end up being the main event, I don't think I would have a giant problem with that. Plus, it's been a while, I think, since we had a Cena Orton match too, and we know
3 years, I
WWE
think,
can't help them.
Royal Rumble 2 years ago?
They had a Hell in a Cell 2014 was the last one.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you know, WWE can't help themselves. They have to do it, right? So, I mean, I honestly
Isn't
don't
that
have a
really the
problem with
first
it.
match on SmackDown with them ever? Like, geez, I feel like they should have had a match on SmackDown by now.
Well, they're with the new branding of SmackDown Live. That's like, that's what they can get away with that. Because before it was just SmackDown, now it's SmackDown Live. So technically, it's the first match with them on SmackDown Live. Actually, no, this actually might just be the first time. They've always been on Raw when the drafts kind of still counted,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, that's right. Yeah.
This
I think
might
when
actually be
the
the
never-ending feud was going on, they were both Team Raw.
Oh, that's true. They were both on Raw. So, I mean, we did have this here with Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper going at it again during this match. Probably the best way to try to get Harper over, right? Get him with John Cena, Gary, and see if the fans will cheer for him.
Yeah, that's the thing. See if they can get him to chant. And, you know, I think that Harper, you know, for what we've seen of him, I think that people do like him. But I don't think to the extent that, you know, it's going to be a huge reaction for babyface. And I think that's what you kind of got here. I think they're just kind of testing those waters. I think, though, that this guy, he's still got the whole Wyatt family thing attached to him, so until he can kind of break away and become his own entity, you're probably going to be sticking around with this whole people just staring and seeing what's happening. I don't think you're going to get a giant reaction until he can stay Luke Harper, but he's got to get away from the whole Wyatt family entrance and all that stuff. He's got to be kind of his own person.
Well, I mean, he can have that old, like, generic rock music again. So,
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
They got to start doing that, though. They got to actually use the music and separate him from the Wyatt family.
I mean, I think they will at some point. I enjoy that he doesn't really need to do a whole bunch to tell you the story. It's just his stares, and I think that just speaks to how smart they've been throughout this. He has yet to really say much, and really all his actions and just his stare has really told the story for the entire time, and I think that's what makes this so great.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, the story is pretty much I know it's a story between Orton and Wyatt, but it's masterfully being told by Luke Harper. So,
I mean, you never know. If they really do decide to do the Orton and Cena match, then the story really might be Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper for WrestleMania, and then you can keep going with the Randy Orton part of it afterwards, once, you know, Luke Harper's really totally out of there. You know, because Randy Orton made it known on Talking Smack that, you know, Bray Wyatt's still giving Luke Harper chances, even though, you know, Randy Orton feels like, hey, he doesn't have a place here. He's already double-crossed us already. There's no point in continuing to have him be the part of the Wi-Fi, but Bray doesn't want to let him go yet. So, you know, that's going to be an interesting thing when we finally get that done. Go ahead.
What we saw in this SmackDown, do you think that they were actually kind of teasing that maybe Luke Harper's giving Bray chances? Maybe the other way around? Because, you know, the kind of way he tagged out and, you know, didn't immediately tag Bray Wyatt, made John Cena kind of go after Bray Wyatt. Maybe saying, I would still be on your side if you dropped the other guy. Or something, you know, kind of without saying it.
That's what I got out of it. He's like, his problem is that, like, he doesn't trust Orton, but he will always follow Bray, and he doesn't want to hurt Bray, but it's like, hey, you got this guy who's clearly not with us, but I still respect you. So,
I think that's the interesting part, is that the only real aggressive action that Luke has taken towards Bray is trying to use Sister Abigail, and there's that whole story between all that there that they could touch on. So, I mean, obviously, especially throughout the match, Luke is only intent on beating the bejesus out of Randy and is willing to physically go around Bray the most difficult way possible to get at Randy. It's so perfect in how they're telling this. It's beautiful.
And it's the perfect thing about it is when it turns out Luke was right all along.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be the best part is whenever it comes that Luke was right all along. There's gonna be even more layers to that thing, but we'll see how this works out for this whole family, and then if it involves John Cena or not. And we have more stuff with Carmella and James Ellsworth. They didn't take very much, thankfully this didn't last too long, but, as Paul noted in our W10 Facebook group, which you can go join if you're on Facebook, go find facebook.com/group/wrestling to the match. You can join us there for live show threads or just to chat with everybody else in there. Paul noted that the biggest pop was Ellsworth tripping Delilah Dawson here. Nothing for Carmella. It's been so long, she's still not really. All that stuff with Nikki and everything, and I know this is Corpus Christi, they're terrible, but
Corpus Christi.
Yeah, that's one of the worst crowds WWE ever goes to. So, I don't know. What do you got? I mean, do you think this is sort of working at all for Carmella having James Ellsworth there?
I don't see what the end game for this is. I mean, you can't. What's this going to lead to? Obviously, they can't have a match together when she turns on him. And what is she using him for anyway? I just don't see where they can take this story.
The point I think they're trying to get across is that Ellsworth was making all of this noise, and Carmella is trying to sort of attach herself to him to get some of that noise on her. But he's cold now. That's the thing. I think Corpus Christi would disagree with you. This is one of the few things I think they talk for all night. Either way, I think that's the story they're going with here. It's rough when Carmella doesn't have somebody to work across from and who can't tell Ellsworth that, hey, she's totally using you. Granted, this is only 3 weeks old, but there's not another babyface across the way to be yo, Ellsworth, you're being used, and that's
you have to
cool.
wonder if Nikki will eventually say something to him, or just one of the guys will eventually.
So then, would you go back to Nikki and Carmella though this soon?
Well, I don't know if they would go back to it. Just kind of Nikki on the sly, kind of says something like, "Hey, she's using you. You know that, right?" I'd imagine it'd be one of the guys though, like he'd just be backstage, and one of the guys would just kind of come by and go, "Hey, man, you're getting used, right?" And they would start planting the seeds in his head and all that.
Yeah, but like you, Chris, I don't know where the end game is for this either. So.
I just don't know what would really what is she gonna get other than okay, Carmella's obviously using James Ellsworth I guess what you call popularity, but at the end of I guess it's to get heat on Carmella whenever she does the big reveal happens. I guess she'll be the next Eve Torres. Let's just screw over the guy and see how much heat I get off of that. I mean, it's not like she's even entertaining the idea of being his boyfriend or anything.
I look at this and I kind of think the direction they're really going in is similar to what you guys are saying. I think also this is a way to keep James Ellsworth relevant, because what else do they have for him? Nothing. But not only that, though, you can maybe have this whole thing of people feel for the guy, especially when he gets, thrown away like trash. People can get behind him again. Right now he's kind of playing that heelish role because, he's with her. But look at, maybe in the future, if they could find some other plans for this guy, it could be better. And they could actually build off of the sympathy card, if you want to say it that way. I don't know. That's the only thing I can get out of this. Otherwise, this is just hey, guys, here's your holding pattern story. Go with it.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. they had to figure out something to do with James Ellsworth. So, well, at least they are figuring out how to use all the women on SmackDown, and it continues here with this tag match between Alexa Bliss and Mickie James and Naomi and Becky Lynch, as they had cut a promo beforehand where Becky says she's pretty much used to being double-crossed everywhere. So that's nothing new for Mickie James to do to her, and that Naomi is getting revenge on Alexa Bliss for disrespecting her. She won at the Royal Rumble, and then in this match she wins again. After what I thought was again a good match, you finally got to see Mickie James really get to do stuff here in the ring for the first time. What did you guys think? And officially announced now, Naomi, Alexa Bliss for the title at Elimination Chamber. And there's also been a Natalya, I forgot what the match actually is. Is it just a regular singles match? I don't know if they had a stipulation.
They didn't have a stipulation yet, but at the moment it's just a regular singles.
Well, I meant for, because they also had Natalya and Nikki in the back, with Natalya having a private security because Nikki attacks her too much. So, 2 women's matches made already for Elimination Chamber out of the show.
Yeah. I mean, that's fine and dandy what they're doing. I mean, it kind of furthers what they've got. Getting a chance to see more Mickie James is a positive thing because, a lot of the fans don't really know a whole lot about her. And then the rest of this roster, they've got to keep going. And the whole thing with, making sure they have Alexa Bliss getting pinned by Naomi and just continuing on that, it's just getting us forward till we do get to Elimination Chamber. So I think everything we got in this episode, especially following the Royal Rumble, it just takes us another step, and I guess a direction that's at least halfway decent. I don't think any of this is overly just exciting, if I could say it that way, but it's still relevant, and I think, it is kind of fun.
I am really disappointed, though. We're not even teasing that they might, with nobody. It's like, really, I mean, Paul, I know we've talked about this a couple of times of what if they did another kind of Elimination Chamber? They're not teasing this with anybody other than the one chamber match. They're not even gonna
I think
make
it's
us
a tag
think.
match because you had 6 tag teams.
No, they
in
just
there.
announced the tag team turmoil on Talking Smack.
Oh, it is. Oh, no. I think it's just what Talking Smack.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's a little unfortunate, but I mean, it certainly does make the main event feel much bigger at that case. And I mean, personally, I'm into this. I like the pairing of Alexa Bliss and Mickie James. I think the feud with James and Becky has a little bit of merit to it because there was the thought that the last generation of chicks was going to change the game, and they did not. So there's some beef there, and this match was really good. And Naomi freaking launching Mickie James off the apron almost on the first row with a dropkick was incredible, and I'm into this. I think there's a lot of great stuff to have out of this, and whenever you have Mickie and Alexa split, you have a much deeper division for it.
Well, with that being said, Chris, I think you have now 3 women's matches possibly happening here on this pay-per-view too.
I think technically you'd have to because with the turmoil and the chamber, you got to fill out this card somehow.
I'm sure the other mid-card stuff that we've yet to talk about is going to have a spot too.
Are you liking the?
Yeah, after that's just will be one more match with some kind of combination of Ziggler and Quarters and Kalisto. So I mean, for a 3-hour show, you have to put something on there besides just the chamber and the turmoil.
They did 6 for what was the one before TLC? Jesus, No Mercy.
Yeah, No Mercy. Yeah, I mean the chamber could possibly go about 45 minutes to an hour, and they've made it known, even with the Royal Rumble, that we're just going to go off whenever we want to, whether we go long or whether we go short. So, there's nothing that says that they have to come up with enough matches to make it go the full 3 hours, but they have enough here, I think, with the chamber and with the other matches that it could probably go that far. I mean, I just find it really interesting that, even though they don't have the, I guess you could say the, star power women they found ways to involve all of them in something. And you know, with only a 2-hour show, it's amazing to me how they continually keep them involved every week, and it's not hokey, or it's not, oh, let's fill 10 minutes of time with some dumb tag match. It makes sense, and there's a point to it. Speaking of what Chris mentioned, Kalisto taking on Dolph Ziggler. Pretty much Dolph, again, whooping Kalisto, so that, you know, proving that he's way better than Kalisto. There's no point of this. But again, also so we can have... I think this is more about Dolph Ziggler and Apollo Crews at this point than it is about Kalisto. He's just beating Kalisto because he can.
Yes, the bigger story is the Crews and Ziggler, which is fine because I'm glad they're actually giving Apollo Crews something to do. And as much as I do like Kalisto, he killed himself with that Lucha Things promo. So if they have to keep beating him down, then that's fine with me.
Shouldn't they do a little bit
This
more
might
with
have been
Apollo,
the loudest
though?
pop that Apollo Crews has gotten.
I was just saying, like, shouldn't they let Apollo kind of speak about this or anything? I mean, just coming out and making the save all the time.
He's talked a couple times on backstage.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, too, you're going to have Apollo and Kalisto maybe as a future little part-time tag team that you can throw into the mix, which is, I think, a fine idea. Or if you move them up to the IC title scene, whenever that decides to trickle its way back down. But for now, I mean, it's not overly exciting, but it's getting them screen time. And if something comes out of this to where you finally have something for Apollo Crews to do going forward, I think that's pretty much all you can ask for out of this whole thing.
Are you a fan of the Apollo Crews stuff, Gary?
You know, Apollo Crews is halfway there, I guess, to an extent. I mean, I think that they need to still build the guy up, and what they're trying to do here is just that, you know, especially facing off against Dolph Ziggler, who is a very established name. I just hope that, you know, he's able to fulfill that. And, you know, going into Elimination Chamber and the way that they're going with this, I think it could work and really help Apollo. This is what he's been waiting for, I think. And they finally are going to give him an opportunity to get into that. And hopefully he takes it and runs with it. He, you know, may not be the strongest guy on the microphone, but heck, you don't always need that. I mean, he could just go in there and do his thing and just, you know, be the athlete that he is. And if he puts up a good match, especially if it's a singles match or whatever they want to do against Dolph Ziggler, there's no better guy, if you ask me, to get in the ring with. Because Dolph Ziggler, of course, you know, he just all encompasses what, you know, a guy that can make you look good, and if you know, help him too. So I think it's a positive.
Yeah, I'm down on them doing stuff. I mean, we've said it for a while. There was a meme that went around for Apollo Crews for a while, you know, back on the milk carton. Where the heck's you been? Thankfully, they figured out he needed to be used on the TV show, and now he's been involved in this feud. So let's see what... I'm assuming we'll have a Ziggler and Crews match on the pay-per-view and go from there. Finally, aside from the main event here, you have the tag teams getting into it again after kind of been one of these lost things on SmackDown. You hadn't really seen them do much with them. American Alpha having the titles for a month, haven't really defended them outside of the rematch with Orton and Wyatt. And they ask for an open challenge, and they get everybody instead. And they brawl and everything. And, yeah, then we pretty much, you know, on Talking Smack, they announced the Tag Team Turmoil. Again, missing the opportunity for an Elimination Chamber match here. But, man, I felt like with the open challenge, somebody was going to come out that we hadn't seen. Like, the Revival or something.
Yeah, that would have been nice, but I kind of have the same opinion that Lance Storm has, and I kind of have this, like, this kind of goes to my Melina thing. If they're not going to have a big role at WrestleMania, then we probably shouldn't debut him on the road, like, during the WrestleMania period. And I don't see the Revival or like DIY making it up before Mania, because they probably won't have a big role at Mania. So if they're going to debut any new teams, I'd rather be after Mania, you know?
I don't think that's the line of thinking here. I think it's Alpha wins the turmoil, and then you have we've beaten everybody, who's left, and then you bring up the revival, you bring up all the NXT stuff, and you have that tag match on the pre-show or at WrestleMania or however you want to do it. But I mean, outside of Joe, unless you have something super big planned for it, I don't think they really mind when they debut you so much as how they use you.
You know, another thing I didn't like about this segment, I didn't like that you had the tag champions willingly admitting that they've done nothing for a month.
Well,
it's like, way to kill yourselves, guys.
That's not their fault, though.
You can't call them liars, though, Lemchi.
I mean, yes, it's not their fault, but just like, whoever greenlit them saying, well, we've been champions for a month, and it doesn't mean anything. It's just like, why do you guys have to say that on TV?
I don't know, you know, SmackDown's where we shoot. So, you know, they got to tell you the truth on SmackDown. We don't lie to you like on Raw. We think you're stupid and don't remember things. So, you know, I'm sure, Gary, you were just happy to see your favorite policeman show up on...
Oh, man, you know it. I mean, that's the way I like to do things, and I was just disappointed more tickets weren't handed out, but... You know, I'm still waiting on mine in the mail. I've actually told them and showed them some of my clothing.
Start somewhere. Did you park at a wrong parking meter or something? You need your...
Yeah, no, I mean, I take pictures of my normal everyday clothing and hope they'll send me a ticket. But, yeah, I mean, you know, this was just a bunch of craziness, and I get it. I mean, the whole American Alpha thing, it's wonderful because of the fact that you finally get a chance to see them on TV, but like you guys are pointing out, you know, they've done nothing lately. They're admitting that they haven't done anything. Throwing a bunch of tag teams at them doesn't solve anything to me at all. I'm just kind of like, oh, I've already seen the Rumble. I don't need to see this. I just wish one tag team would have came out.
Or we've seen them basically take out all those tag teams.
Yeah,
so
exactly. My point. So I've seen this, been there, done that. This did nothing for me, really. And I love American Alpha. It's not their fault. I just didn't like the way they handled this.
Paul, I mean...
SmackDown has nothing really going on in the tag division outside of American Alpha. Everybody else has either been overused or underused, and nobody cares about them. They need new teams. I mean...
Yeah, when the Vaudevillains came out, I was like, when was the last time they were even on TV?
Oh, yeah.
When was the last time they won, Lemchi? I think that's the question.
That's a better question.
And I don't know what Connor was trying to do with that face paint with the Ascension. Like, we went way past Halloween at this point, man. You know, so we have Dean Ambrose, your Intercontinental Champion, taking on AJ Styles. You have The Miz and Baron Corbin on commentary. You have 4 of the 6 people that are in the Elimination Chamber here involved in this match. They actually go almost 20 minutes here with, you know, Ambrose and Styles having a damn good match, but Corbin and Miz finally, after taking shots at each other the whole damn match, just finally go at it. It distracts Ambrose, and AJ Styles gets the Styles Clash for the win. Your IC champion has been beaten, but hey, it's a distraction, so it's alright. Do you think that they'll just go without having an IC title match on this show, or I don't know who the hell Dean Ambrose would lose it to, but could they have Dean Ambrose lose the title before the Chamber?
I would just keep it on him during the Chamber, because like you said, well, next week's the go-home, so you can't do much with it. You can't really build somebody up to take the belt off him.
God, I can't believe we're talking about next week's the go-home already. I feel like we just had a pay-per-view.
I mean, we did. It was on Sunday.
So we did.
It was called the Royal Rumble. John, if you were aware. Randy Orton
I
won.
know. That's the joke I'm making here. That we just basically should have just had the Elimination Chamber this weekend. Why not?
Why not?
They gotta
Yeah,
go.
I mean,
When they're making the next pay-per-view schedule, they gotta stretch these things out longer. Like, there's no reason.
This
to
is
ever
the only
have
one that was
pay-per-view
stretched
2
out.
weeks.
Is because Raw has a month in between. Normally it's 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2
TLC
weeks.
had a 2 week build too. Like after Survivor Series, it was like two weeks to TLC.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know if Dean loses the IC title. It probably wouldn't. The only person he could lose it to is back to Dolph, and I don't know if that's really going to do much for anything. So
Well, you don't want
leave it on
Ambrose
him.
losing right before the Chamber.
Yeah, I mean that would suck too. I mean you can have it, hold on to it for whatever. But this match he has with AJ is really good. I mean I could watch these guys wrestle all day personally, and yeah. I mean, everybody else at ringside is also in the chamber, so you get all that tied in too, and it's nice.
Gary?
Yeah, you know what? It's kind of funny. This main event, I mean, I want to say this. I actually kind of had fun listening to commentary. In fact, I kind of was drawn out of the match itself by commentary because of The Miz. And I love his banter with David Otunga, and actually making the point that David Otunga, what have you ever done? I love it. It just took me out of it. I just was enjoying commentary. Baron Corbin coming out and doing commentary was another story. I kind of felt bad for the guy. You know, he just kind of did his little banter with The Miz, but man, he did not look good. Miz really kind of put him in his place, if you ask me. Really, this is all about showing everybody that's going to be a part of the chamber. I mean, this is what we're trying to gather and get to, and there you go. I mean, it's kind of rounding up. Not only that, like you guys just said, the go home's right around the corner. So, I mean, you got to do this kind of stuff. So there, makes sense.
Chris, I want to ask you this question because it feels like all of a sudden somebody told WWE that they needed to fill a quota. That every one of their announced teams used to have a black guy on it. Like, how do you feel about how do you feel about this? Like, it's instead of having like an actual reason for them to be there, it seems like we're just putting guys there.
And it's the worst thing about this is that each one of the black guys on the commentary all suck too. Like David Otunga's awful, Percy Watson is just bland as all can be, which is unfortunate because I remember him being so charismatic back in NXT, the old NXT, and Byron Saxton is as vanilla can be.
He's also, pretty vanilla inside too, probably. So
yeah, he's a jar of mayonnaise. That's Byron Saxton.
Gary, don't make jokes.
The quotas. Speaking of commentary, there are 7, including Maurice. There are 7 people on that commentary table. It's like, good God, why do you guys have to have what's the obsession with having like a 3-man or a 4-man booth? Just go back to. I hate to be like an old man here, but just go back in my day. We just had 2 commentators and it worked just fine.
Well, I guess Morrow doesn't feel comfortable doing the we're gonna go to something else segments. Or I guess Vince doesn't like the way that Morrow goes to something else segments, so they have what's his face? Why can't I remember it?
Tom Phillips.
Tom Phillips there to basically that's his whole job is for that, and then David Otunga is to basically point out the obvious, and and then JBO has to scream. So it's like, all right, you guys are just, I don't know, It bothers me. I hate it. Because we know how great Morrow is, and he shows it on 205 Live, where him and Aries work really well, and Corey Graves, and then at SmackDown, it's weird sometimes. But, yeah, I mean, that's your SmackDown. I mean, so how do you guys feel about this, the Elimination Chamber match? After the show, do you feel strongly still that you can get Bray Wyatt winning, or do you feel like it's kind of made for Harper to come and screw him and we're still going to get Cena retaining?
Bray's winning the Chamber. I like that they actually started the build of that, with him interacting with Cena, so there's a bit of a story there, but this solidified the Bray and Cena will be the last two, and Bray will beat Cena to win the belt.
And it's not to say that Harper still can't interfere and somehow ends up working towards all that, but I feel like the way that he interacts with Bray in the tag team match sort of tells you that maybe he's not so definite on that run-in. So, I think Bray still does win the title. I think it makes the most sense. And even then, Randy could always run in too and help Bray win for whatever reason.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I think there's a lot of intrigue they can build up out of this whole Wyatt family situation.
Yeah, but Randy Orton noted that he'd want to face John Cena because he knows him and he's beaten him before. Why would you want to help? I could see it where he accidentally helps Bray or something like that, or he doesn't mean to help Bray. He goes and RKO's Cena, and then he leaves, or him and Harper get into it, and he doesn't realize that he basically just helped Bray win. Yeah, go ahead.
If the whole point of Randy doing all this was to break up the Wyatt family so that way Bray's an easier target for him to take down, and why wouldn't you want to put him in a place where he feels confident, and that way you have the biggest stage with the biggest prize on the line and make him look foolish? That would be my thinking behind it.
That's my thinking behind it too, and as for why, even though he said that he wants to face Cena at Mania, you gotta remember, Sean, Randy's crazy. He hears voices in his head. Next week he could change his mind about something because the voice told him to do something else.
Of course,
He's a
WWE only
Viper. He
plays
can
that up.
strike at any time.
WWE only plays that up when it's necessary for them. Gary, how are you feeling about this? You still feeling your boy Bray Wyatt is going to win, or?
I think there's a great opportunity for him to do it, but that's what makes me nervous is all this talk of it actually happening. Usually it means it's not. If we would just shut up and just pretend like we thought somebody else was going to win, they'd probably do it. So that's my fear. I think the internet, all of us, we just keep talking. We keep going all about it, and then he's going to go, I was going to do that. Never mind. Screw that. So, but yeah, as it sits right now, yes, I would say for me personally, that still would be my big pick. I just have a lot of fear right now.
Do you think it's going to be, is Bray also going to be the guy that has the standout performance in there, or you think it's going to be like Corbin? Who do you think is going to be like leaving a big mark on when we're done with Elimination Chamber? Who are we talking about at the end?
I'm thinking it's going to be Corbin, especially if he's rumored to take on Cena at Mania. He has to have like a kind of a big showing here to kind of, I don't know, he's kind of fallen. I know they've been so focused on pushing Braun as their big man, they've kind of forgotten about Corbin sometimes. So he actually needs a bigger performance to stand out, because Braun got the most eliminations in the Rumble. And while Corbin did eliminate him, he didn't really do much other than that. So this could be the point where he makes his mark.
It could be that. AJ could do the big spot too, because there's always usually that one guy who does something insane, and certainly could be that. If Miz's performance from the Royal Rumble carries over into this too, I think we could be talking about him.
What do you think, Gary?
Yeah, the Miz is a great point because, my God, the way he worked at the Rumble, everything he's done, he's got a great, opportunity here to steal the show for sure. But I think what they're really going to want to do is I think they're going to want to focus on Corbin a little bit here, and I think they're really going to want to showcase everything he can do and just give him more limelight, because that's, their version of Braun Strowman. That's what, kind of what we, have kind of noticed when you talk about the rosters, maybe the parallels. So I think Corbin's the one they're going to want to look the best, but I have a feeling that you're going to have a guy like Miz or, hope Bray, is just the one who steals the show, but we'll see.
I don't know still. I like Corbin. I don't know. When you're talking about, you don't know how many more matches you have for John Cena. I don't know that Baron Corbin's that guy, but...
You don't want to see Cena versus the Big Breakfast?
uh,
Boy.
no. Do you guys want to see John Cena? How do you guys feel about
Oh,
that? You
boy.
know that John Cena's days are starting to get to where you don't know how many more years he's going to be around. Baron Corbin.
You know, he's leaving after April too to film another movie. So
Right, but you know he's going to be back for like at least another couple WrestleManias or something. But
oh yeah,
still.
I see Cena for another like 5 years. Is my guess.
Yeah, I mean, he's still got plenty of time left. Him and Corbin, it doesn't do a lot for me, but it's all. I'm willing to give SmackDown any chance, and I mean, if any brand could make me interested in that, then certainly the blue brand is going to do it.
He is getting better on the microphone, so maybe him and Cena can have one of those big spats on a big promo, and let's see what happens or whatever. But it's just, they're very, they both played football. I mean, you don't have the contrast so much with Cena like you do with AJ or some of the other guys, so that'll be interesting how they pull that off. And it's also going to be one of those times I think Cena's going to get, he's not going to get booed as much as he normally would. So, which, not be why WWE's doing it, but who knows. But that's going to do it for SmackDown on this evening. What do you want? Let's do this rating thing. What are you giving SmackDown for this show?
I'd go 7.5.
Oh, you liked it that much, huh?
Yeah, the only thing that just took me out of it was the whole tag situation. That's why I had to knock it for that. So yeah, I'd give it 7.5. Because it set up the Elimination Chamber, and you kind of see some of the roads to Mania. It's still blurry, but you can kind of see where they're going. So I'll give it a 7.5 for that.
Yeah, I think the tag stuff was really the only down part. Everything else was good to okay, and I think I like this about as much as I enjoyed Raw. So I'm gonna give the same rating, go with 7.
I think you guys hit the nail on the head. I mean, I think 7 is right about where it needs to be. They didn't do anything that was too boring or degrading to what they had already built up at Rumble. I think that, I'm with, Chris on the fact that the tag thing was just the lamest thing. Outside of that, though, it was a pretty solid show, and I think that they, did a good job of, at least, getting that quick turnaround and getting ready for their next big show.
Yeah, and I like the fact that from the outset they tell you who's going to be the Elimination Chamber, and then the whole show, including Talking Smack, is built around, okay, let's put all of our titles, what they're doing, out there. You already know what the big matches are going to be. We pretty much got to figure out what's going to be with Dolph, and if Becky and Mickey are going to get a match or not, and then pretty much everything else is set, for next week. And you set up a big main event for next week, Cena and Orton. So should be interesting how they handle all that. But that's going to do it for us discussing SmackDown for this week. Hope you enjoyed it. Let us know either, through comment on whatever format you're going to listen to. And we will see you next time, everybody.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.